A big thank you to BetterHelp for allowing me to partner with them for this episode and episodes to come. I wanted to take a special minute to talk about BetterHelp as yesterday was World Mental Health Day. And even if you are somebody who feels like you don't struggle with quote unquote mental illness or, you know, depression, anxiety, diagnosed things, I think that therapy can be beneficial to anyone and everyone. I started therapy in a time in my life where I was not familiar with dealing with things like anxiety and depression. And I was going through a lot of different things in my life that were new to me. And it really helped me understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling and how to take actionable steps to cope with those things and to make sure that they weren't taking over my day to day life. And for that, I am so forever thankful. So if you guys are looking for an outlet or somebody to talk to or affordable therapy, I would highly recommend BetterHelp. It's really easy. You go to their website, you take a short questionnaire, and they match you with a licensed therapist in your state. And then you are free to switch therapists at any time, depending on whether or not you feel a connection with them. And so that you have the opportunity to find somebody you feel will help you in the ways that you need. So, you guys do get 10% off your first month for listening to this podcast and supporting me. That link will be in the bio, but it is betterhelp.com/GraceP. And that does get you 10% off of your first month. So thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. And let's get into the episode. Well, Liz, welcome to the 20 something podcast.
I'm Liz. My name's Liz Hochstetler. I am a health and fitness coach. I was a shit show when I was 20, in my 20s. It's something that I tell my clients. It's like the work is always going to come before the belief. Okay, I can choose my hard now or I can choose my hard later. Had I not listened, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Well, Liz, welcome to the 20 something podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. I will have you kind of jump in and tell everybody who you are, what you do, and then we'll take it back to your 20s.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on here. I think this is awesome that you do this. Like how old are you?
I'm 24.
Okay. I was a shit show when I was 20 in my 20s. And so this is cool that I'm on here so I can share my story and hopefully help people have a different path or feel seen if they're in the same season of life. So this is really cool that you do this because man, when I was 24, okay. So a little bit about me. I'm Liz. My name's Liz Hochstetler. So I live in Colorado currently. I'm almost 40 years old, which is kind of like, I don't know. It's part of my story now. Like it's a pretty cool, like I thought I'd be scared to be heading into my 40s and I'm at a really great place in life that I just feel super empowered and I want to empower others that are, heading into a new decade or a new season. And so I don't know, I'm heading into my 40s. It's pretty cool. I have two kids, two boys, 8 and 11. They're just like, I say it every year or like every few years, they're in just such a fun age. They're just really cool kids and they're very involved in sports. So busy sports mom, running them to practices, games. What else? So do you want me to share my story now or do you want me to wait?
First, what do you do currently? Okay. And then we'll go back and we'll kind of start wherever you want to in your 20s. Sometimes it's easier for people to start like when they began college because that's like the beginning parts. But first and foremost, tell everybody what you do currently, and then we'll backtrack and figure out how you got there.
Okay. Yeah. So currently, I am a health and fitness coach. So I'm a personal trainer. I'm a certified nutrition coach. And like I said, that's kind of like my mission is to empower people to just feel like it's okay to become a better version of yourself, even as you age and not just settle, for this is the way I'm supposed to be as I head into my 40s as a mom, like I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm, feeling the strongest, the healthiest, the best energy as I'm heading into my 40s. And I never thought it would be the case. And so that's kind of what I bring to my clients when I coach. I coach men and women, but a lot of women that, have been afraid to, eat more and fuel their bodies and lift heavy weights. And I grew up with in my 20s, I grew up just thinking like cardio is the only way to get results and eating absolutely nothing and, starving yourself and doing all these fad diets. And so I've lived through that. And now I get to, I'm at a really good place in life and in this health and fitness journey. And I get to help others now become the best version of themselves and like get rid of that idea that I used to think of, you have to starve yourself to become healthier and to lose weight and to see results. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I've done all of the things. I've done the yo-yoing, I've done the, extreme diets. And that's what I coach, is just living a
Mm-hmm.
healthy, sustainable lifestyle. So I coach currently, I coach in the First Form app, which is
Mm-hmm.
how Grace and I have connected, how we've connected. Through First Form. I'll share a little bit of like how I got connected with them in my story.
Yeah.
That's a big, big part. But my business is called Unified Strength. So I have a Facebook community. It's called Unified Strength, and our biggest piece is that we get stronger together. And I created it because, again, when I was starting out my journey, I did it all on my own. Like it was really hard. Like I think I would have, had I had a community and people to support me, it would have been a lot better. And so I committed to, once I felt like I was in a good place on my journey, I wanted to create this space that others could come to that were feeling lost, but they knew they wanted to become better. They knew they wanted to improve themselves in some way. And so that's kind of how that started, is just, wanting a space for people to just come and become a better version of themselves. So that's what I do now. Like I said, I'm a sponsored trainer with First Form, and I use their app as an incredible platform to coach people with their nutrition and their fitness and help them work towards their goals. And so that's where I'm at now. And I absolutely love what I do. But so like I got into that because I've always loved helping people. I've always like loved teaching people. And I was an elementary school teacher. So like I can back up into, when I
Mm-hmm.
was in my 20s, I actually grew up in Indiana. So I'm in Colorado now. My husband and I moved out here when we were engaged. What year was that? 2008. We moved out here right out of college. We knew we wanted to get out of Indiana, but and this is where he got a job, and we moved to Denver, and now we're in like a suburb of Denver in Castle
Nice.
Rock, Colorado. So I grew up in Indiana, went to college in Indiana, Ball State University. So they have like a well-known teachers college there. And that's what I've always known. I've always known two things. I've always known I've loved teaching. I've loved kids. I've loved helping people, but also that I wanted to be a mom. Like that is something that's a big part of me. And so I'll get into that in a little bit, but I went to Ball State, did the teaching program, became a teacher, and then moved to, well, while I was in college. That is why I said, I was like, I'm so impressed with where you're at 24, because I really was. I was very heavy into partying. I did the whole go to college, party, get by with decent grades, not great. I didn't really pour into much of my education. I finally kind of
Mm-hmm.
started taking it seriously by my fourth year, when I realized I still needed to do an extra year of college just to graduate. So,
Yeah.
um, and while I was in college, I actually decided to study abroad. We studied abroad in London. There was a program through Ball State that we went to, and that was my junior year. And again, I just partied like crazy. But before I left, so I had dated some horrible, horrible guys. Can I cuss on here or no? Do you prefer?
Yeah. Go
Okay. I
ahead.
dated like a lot of assholes. Um, and I remember before I left, my mom was like, I just have this feeling you're going to meet your husband there. And I was like, okay, like thinking she meant like some British guy, I'm going to meet him. And so I went, studied there for 3 months. And while I was there, one of the guys that was in the program with me from Ball State. Sure enough, that is who I met. That's my husband. We just celebrated 15 years of marriage.
Oh,
But
congrats.
he's an important part of this whole story. Obviously, he's my husband. He's, my love, the love of my life. But he is the reason that I got into health and fitness. And I kind of shifted from being an absolute shit show, partying, smoking cigarettes, doing all the things. And then I met him, and I remember when we were in London, I'm hungover, and I see him getting up and going to the gym every day. He got a gym membership while we were there, and that was like unheard of when you're 20 years old. It's like, what is this? You're going and working out, and he was like eating pretty healthy while we were there, and so we started dating. And these are my cardio years. These are my starving years. Like when I was going on spring break in college, I would like wear sweats to the gym and go sit on the bike, and I would just cycle for hours and just think like I'm going to sweat it all off. And I would eat nothing. I would eat like a turkey sandwich all day. I remember it so well. Or I would get like those lean cuisine meals and have like one. That would be all I would eat. And that was my prep for going to spring break, because I was like, I have to look good in a bathing suit. So, enter Tim, who is my husband and who has a background in, lifts weights and understands fitness and everything. He started to teach me more about all of the things. And so he is a big part of this whole story and this whole journey. Because, I was still very set on like the cardio thing for my fitness goals, but later on he came in and he was the reason why I started lifting weights. We graduated, we moved to Denver, started a life there. Originally said we were going to move back to Indiana when we had kids because we wanted them to be by their grandparents. And his family has slowly moved out here to Colorado from Indiana. So we have family out here, and we love it so much out here. That we're like, yeah, no, we're not moving back to Indiana. So let's see. I became a teacher. And like I said, I've always known that I wanted to have kids. I've always known that I loved helping kids. I loved teaching people. And so that really was like a passion of mine, but it's like teaching has always just come easy to me. Like it's just something that's always been comfortable. That was just like, again, that was like that. Okay. You're going to become a teacher. You're going to get married. You're going to have kids. End of story. That's your life. And there is nothing wrong with that at all. But there was always like, I had my first son. I continued to work part-time as a teacher. And then I decided when I got pregnant and had my second son that I was just going to stay home full-time with both kids. And that just worked for us. And so then I became a full-time stay-at-home mom, and, I'm not partying like I was in my 20s, and this was, I think I had my first at 29. 29. And then my second at 32. And so I'm still drinking heavily, like as a mom, I'm still like, there's just this, like, the kids go to bed and then I'm just drinking the wine at the end of the night. Like that was just a very vicious cycle. And I think there was just this thing that I needed to fill, this void that I needed to fill. There was always something that felt like it was missing. When I was pregnant with my first, I like felt this push because, again, I've loved being active. That's never been a problem for me. I've always loved being active. It's just been the nutrition and the partying that's been a struggle for me. So when I was pregnant with my first, I felt this push to go and get certified to become a yoga instructor. I was very big into yoga. There was a gym locally that they were offering this yoga teacher training program. And I was like, I feel like I should do this. Like I'll have that in my back pocket to be able to do on the side while I have kids. So I went and got certified for yoga, and then like became a cycling instructor, and then just started teaching more fitness classes. And that was like my happy place. That was like something that I had outside of just being stay-at-home mom. Again, there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. And that is fulfilling for a lot of people. But there was, like I've said, there was just something like I still wanted to be able to help people in some way outside of being mom,
Yeah.
and putting the kids to bed and having that wine every night. And so became taught a lot of fitness classes on the side. I'm staying home full time and had my second, and was like, after my first baby, I did the whole bounce back thing. Like my body just, I don't know. I just kind of was one of those people that you hate. Like, like my body did bounce back. So I never, again, I wasn't having to worry about what I was putting in my body. I wasn't having to worry about exercise or specific types of exercise. I was just doing what I enjoyed. And then I had my second, and I gained like over 50 pounds when I was pregnant with him, and did not do the whole bounce back thing. And that was the first time in my life that I like truly felt uncomfortable in my
Mm.
own skin. Aside from college, I gained the whole 20 to 30 pound
Yeah.
in college.
Yeah.
But like after having my second, it was just like, I've never experienced that where like I just felt so uncomfortable in my own body. And so finally, my husband had been trying to push me for years to just get in the gym and start lifting weights and stop doing all the cardio classes. And so I finally listened to him because I was just so sick and tired of feeling so uncomfortable. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
maybe he's right. And that was the biggest turning point. Like I found a strength training class where I could go at the gym. There was someone there to guide me and teach me. I knew nothing about
Mhm.
lifting weights. But there was someone there to guide me and teach me. Um, and I instantly fell in love with it. I fell in love with the rush of lifting heavy weights and just feeling empowered when you just doing something hard, and like as you're stepping up to the bar and telling yourself like, I can't, this is there's no way, this is too heavy, and then you do it. It's like the coolest feeling ever.
Yeah.
And as a, byproduct, my body started to respond really well to lifting weights. Still didn't have the nutrition piece in place, but my body was still like, I was seeing some changes that I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
all these years I have not seen this change. And then here we go. So, um, people at the gym and people, in my life were starting to ask what I was doing. They were noticing the changes. And that was a really cool feeling that I was able to start to teach them. Again, I love teaching. I love helping people. So to be able to teach them about the things that I'm doing, it was really cool. And let's see. So I don't know. I mean, about a year postpartum, I was lifting, but then I started focusing on my nutrition. And then my
Mm.
body was really responding. I was feeling amazing. I was finally not drinking wine every night. I realized that was no longer serving me. And I guess that's when I found First Form. Um, my husband followed the owner, Andy Frisella, and he was listening to his podcast, and that's when he started to learn more about First Form. He
Mhm.
introduced me to it, and then I found the program, the Legionnaire program, where
Mhm.
they're just incredible. It's like, yes, First Form is a supplement company, but it's so much more.
Mhm.
They are so big on teaching people how to help. Like
Mhm.
I've learned so much about fitness, nutrition, all the things just from being a part of this company. And then that's when I wanted to further my education, and I love learning. And so got certified to be a personal trainer, got certified as a nutrition coach, just continuing to pour into all of that. And
Yeah.
that's when I started coaching people. And, the coolest feeling ever is when someone comes to you and they're like, I literally, like, I'm a better mom now. I'm a better wife. Like my life is so much better now because I have prioritized myself. I've prioritized my health. And it's just the coolest feeling ever. So that's kind of what's brought
Yeah.
me to where I'm at now.
Yeah. Amazing. I have so many questions.
I didn't know if I should like just
Yeah,
spill my whole
no.
guts,
I
my
love
whole
it.
life story. But yeah, I could go into ask
Yeah.
away. I'm an open
Um,
book.
so when you got into First Form, did you always have kind of the drive to be your own boss and business owner, or how did you find that and cultivate that? Because being a Legionnaire, for the people that don't know, it's on you. Like they give you the tools and they help you, but you go find your clients and you're in charge and it's your little business. And so if you're not doing the work or you don't have the drive, nothing comes of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that was a big piece was I was very I lacked a lot of like self-belief and
Mm-hmm.
I was very closed-minded to um the idea that you can you can become your own business owner, or this
Mm-hmm.
is this is something that you can actually build a legacy for your family, for your kids. Like this is, you can build
Mm-hmm.
this amazing life. So when I did it, it was literally just, I started out like, this is fun. Like that sounds like that'd be great.
Yeah.
You can help people. And I never thought of it as like truly building a business.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing that I've just being a part of First Form and working with people there and connecting with people there. It teaches you how to just raise your standards in life. And that was when I started to elevate my standards for myself and start to build that self-belief. I was like, okay, this is something that I can actually build. And it's not just like this little side gig that I can do once in a while when I
Yeah.
feel like it. So it started out, small and slow, but it was still very fulfilling to
Mm-hmm.
help people change their lives. And then it was like, okay, this is something that I can actually build. And this is something that I can do full time, from my home, from, anywhere
Yeah.
while I'm raising a family, while I have kids. And, so no, to answer your question, like when I started out, it was not like, yeah, I'm going to run a business and I'm going to, be my own boss and I'm going to build this business. It was like, oh, this is just something that I could kind of do. And now
Right.
it's evolved. It's evolved as I have evolved as an individual, right? Like as
Mm-hmm.
I've realized like there's no limit to what you can
Mm-hmm.
do. Like it really, and I was what was holding myself back. Like my
Mm-hmm.
mindset was holding myself back for so long. But once I shifted that and actually took this on as something that is something that I'm going to build,
Mm-hmm.
it's been growing ever
Yeah.
since. Yeah.
Amazing. So I guess then if you went into it kind of as oh, this is fun, I get to help people, and not so much so as like, oh, like this is something I want to make my income or my job, my career. Was there ever like an in between time where you were like, okay, I want to scale this, I want to grow this, I want this to be, everything I just said, and I see it happening, but then there's like that in between of like I'm actively working towards it. I feel like I'm going nowhere. I don't know how to get there, but I do type of thing. Like, did you ever experience something like that?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like, I can always compare it to a health and fitness journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like you feel like you're doing all the things. You feel like you're pouring into this and you're not seeing the growth that you want to
Yeah.
see. And that can be a couple of reasons. It's something that I tell my clients. It's like the work is always going to come before the belief. Like
Mm-hmm.
that work, you have to continue to put in that work and pour everything into it. And you're not going to see the results immediately. It's going to take time. It's the same thing as a health and fitness journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I've poured into this. But also, you have to be honest with yourself. Are you doing everything that you need to be
Right.
doing? So there have been times where I'm like, yes, I'm doing everything I need to be doing. There's always more that you can be doing. There's always things that I could be doing that could be better. And so
Right.
it's the same as a health and fitness journey, just having that honest conversation of like, okay, are you really
Mm-hmm.
doing all the things? If you are, you just have to give it more time. You have to
Right.
continue to give it more time, because it's not going to happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
I've been coaching, I would say actively for almost 3 years, but I was coaching for 6.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last probably 2.5 years, 2 years, I've had steady growth. In the
Mm-hmm.
last 6 months, I've had larger growth. Like
Yeah.
it's it is. It's just like you're putting in the work in your journey, you're staying consistent, and then all of a sudden you start to see that momentum pick up.
Yeah.
But had you not stuck with it and stayed consistent, you would never know. Right. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I always try and look at it as like smaller scale stuff when trying to cultivate something bigger. It's like, all right, when
Mm-hmm.
you were trying to do XYZ, you put on all the work up here, and then it was like one day it just kind of happened. But it didn't happen. It was because you did everything. And
Yes.
so if it's like a bigger goal, obviously that chunk before it clicks is going to be a lot bigger. But as long as you're able to have that honesty within yourself to know that you're doing everything that you should be doing and that you can be doing, it's going to come. You just have to have that belief. And I
Absolutely.
think
Yeah.
for kids, I mean, I guess technically I could still be considered a kid to some
Oh,
people, but I think for people my age, it's super hard to figure out how to have that belief and how to have that honesty with themselves because there's sometimes not a whole lot of self accountability.
yeah. Yeah. I think I've been blessed. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been blessed. Like my husband is someone who, um, he's just a very disciplined and honest
Mm-hmm.
person. And
Mm-hmm.
he has had belief in me from the beginning. Like I said, he's been such a big part of this. So I know not everyone has that. He pushes me when I have that weak mindset, that weak mentality. And I start to, he'll catch me when I'm starting to talk myself out of doing something else or doing something bigger. And he's just always pushing me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very blessed to have him. But I know not everybody has that. And that's,
Yeah.
that has been a big part of this is pouring into my self-development, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reading books, listening to podcasts like this, it's
Mm-hmm.
just taking action or taking ownership that like, okay, I'm not where I want to be is, where do I want to be? Where do I see
Right.
myself? And the other thing that really has helped me is looking at people that have a life or a business or they're having success that I want,
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying those people are just lucky. They're just, they have that skill, right? Or
Yeah.
they just kind of fell into that success. I
Mm-hmm.
used to do that. I used to
Mm-hmm.
say that and look at people like that. But shifting to like, no, like they are proof that this is possible.
Yeah.
Right. And so not only have I had a husband to remind me that, but like that is something that anyone listening to this, that's something you have to remind yourself is there's nothing different about me, nothing special about me. There's nothing different about the person that I look up to. They just, again, they just put in the work before the
Yep.
belief kicked in over and over and over. And they're proof that it is possible.
Yeah. And I think so much of that belief stems to like your physical health. Like so
Mm-hmm.
many most successful people you talk to have gone through some sort of like health or fitness journey or really really value that because that's one of the ways where you can actually see your hard work like out in front of you.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and so I always tell people like, go challenge yourself in some way. You don't, maybe you're not going to go be a heavy lifter in the gym, fine, but do something every day that physically challenges yourself because that helped me so much understand that, like, oh, my hard work does do something results wise if I stick to it. And then that can kind of cultivate into bigger things where, like, career and business, it takes a lot longer to see the fruit of that hard work, but that what you're doing is going to have that result at the end.
Absolutely. That's where it all started for me was
Mm-hmm.
once I started pouring into my health and fitness and taking care of myself. That's when like you said, like you do start to build that belief that, wow, I can do hard shit. Like I can
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
And it starts in the gym or it starts with keeping those promises to yourself with your workouts or with what you plan to eat for the day. And then you keep that promise to yourself and then you do it again the next day and the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really does. It trickles over into your finances, like your relationships,
Yeah.
your career, like everything has improved over the years
Yeah.
because of taking that action and just building
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, that resilience and that discipline and that fortitude and all of those things.
Yeah. And I think the hardest part about that and like getting started, and I wanted to ask you about this when you were talking about when you finally transitioned and listened to your husband about lifting weights. But like the
Mm-hmm.
hardest part that I've seen in my life and most of like people in my life's journeys with fitness and health is you almost have to get to that point where you're so uncomfortable or low that you have no choice but to try what you've been pushing off. And I'm curious your thoughts on that and like if you think there's a way to bypass that. Cause I mean, like you said, you got to the point where you were so uncomfortable in your skin. You're like, well, I might as well, I don't know what else to do. And the same thing
Mm-hmm.
happened to me. I was like, I don't know what else to do. So I'm going to have to do this. And then it clicks. But
Yep.
people like it's hard because it's like you don't want the people that you are helping or that in your life to get to that low point where they just have to make that change.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want them to hit that rock bottom.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't know. I
Yeah.
honestly, I think if you can tie some type of a why to where you're wanting to go, or like if you have this little push, or this, like, I had that little gut feeling that I wanted to go and get trained to become a yoga instructor. And it might sound silly to some people, but like, again, that was where it started, right? Teaching
Mm-hmm.
people fitness. And had I not listened, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
just reminding yourself of like that one little instinct or that gut
Yeah.
intuition that's like, I could have better. Like there is
Mm-hmm.
better for me. Or this, I want to try this. Like when you feel that little push or something that feels uncomfortable, that's when you need to lean into it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like versus getting to an extremely low point.
Right.
But if you have this little feeling of like wanting to be better, which if you're listening to this podcast, you want to be better, I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming, right? And do the thing that scares you, do the thing that makes you uncomfortable. Um, find a reason, like a why of why it is you want to do that. And your why can change over time, but like find something that you can tie your why to it, or tie it to a why
Yeah.
that's pretty deep to you, so that you do push through even on those days when you absolutely don't want to, or that's what gets you started. That's what I would suggest is if
Yeah.
you haven't reached that low point. And that's going to be something that I talk about as a piece of advice that I would give to my past self. And, that was something that I was thinking about in my walk yesterday, but
Yeah.
I'll get to that when we get to that part of the
Okay.
podcast.
Yeah, I love that you brought up a why and having it like really rooted deeply in yourself. That was something that I really struggled with when I kind of transitioned out of being a legionnaire and like I've been in a really like transitional like phase in my life and for a moment there I was like I don't know my why. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. Like my all this time my why was like fitness and health and helping people and I still love that, but I don't want to be this anymore. And it took me a lot longer than I would have liked to realize that well your why is deeper than fitness and health. Why
Mm-hmm.
did you want to be in fitness and health? Why did you want to help people lose weight and do this and this? Well, because it was rooted so much deeper in that. But like I was so consumed at that time being in school with that fitness and health thing because when you're in college, you've got the blinders on and it's like, what is my job going to be after school?
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I know my why. It's this because I need a job after school.
Yes.
But then a couple years out, when you're like, well, I don't want to do that job anymore. And then your brain's like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. It's scary.
Yeah. So having a why that's so much deeper, I think is so important. And I think for me, finding that was like you said, personal development and reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of podcasts, and learning about like faith and
Mm.
whether you're spiritual, believe in the universe or God or whatever higher power. I think that helped me so much figure out well, my why is so much bigger than what my job entails, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to happen overnight. Like here I
Mm-hmm.
am almost 40 and I'm still learning, right? It's a lot of trial and error. It's okay, this fills my cup. I enjoy helping people. Let me try this. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work. Okay, let me try this. Like it's just figuring it out as you go, but actually doing something instead of sitting there where you're miserable or you're just not fulfilled. Like
Yeah.
that's not the way to be. And because I've been there, like
Yeah.
it's it is so much better when you actually do take action and figure out what it is that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and again, the why changes. Like my
Yeah.
why as my kids have gotten older has changed from when they were just babies, like or
Yeah.
from before I had kids. It just changes. It evolves as you change and go through different seasons of life.
Yeah. And it's important to know that that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's normal. That
You
was,
don't have
I
to
was,
have it all figured out. Just
yeah.
do something that is fulfilling because life can be short, life we have a limited time here on this earth and it's like why waste that?
Mm-hmm.
Like it is just it can be so amazing when you are doing something every single day that is truly fulfilling that you truly enjoy
Yeah.
and not every day is sunshine and rainbows, but it like you can look at yourself in the mirror every day at the end of the day and you're like, wow, okay, I made a difference today. Like I
Yeah.
did something today. I
Yeah.
lived to my fullest potential today. Or maybe I didn't, but tomorrow I'm going to learn what didn't go well and I'm going to change that and I'm going to adjust and just
Right.
keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to do it by yourself. Like you don't have
Yeah.
to be alone in it. Like how you touched on earlier, like your husband is a big part of this journey because of who he was and who you saw him being. And that made you kind of want to be more disciplined in that area and learn about fitness and health in that realm. I think surrounding yourself with people who are going to push you to be better and who are going to support you and lift you up and make you feel like you're capable, that makes it a lot less lonely and a lot less daunting when you are
Yeah.
trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. And that's like I said in the beginning, why I started that Facebook community that kind of
Mm,
evolved into my business. But I didn't have that community. I didn't have, aside from the people at the gym, but like I wanted something that was deeper where people can connect to. They can go and share, guys, I'm struggling with this. And someone will,
mm-hmm.
hey, I did too. I did too. This is what I did to help. And I just wanted to create something like that because I know how hard it can be to do this on your own.
Yeah, for sure. Especially at this age, none of us know what's going
No,
on.
I mean, I still am trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's like the most reassuring thing I've learned from guests on this podcast is no matter what age you are, they're still trying to figure it out. I'm like, okay, good.
Well, and I think that's important. Like if
Yeah.
you should always have this growth mindset of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I may not have this yet, but I'm going to figure it out or this is where you're always looking to get better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
versus like I was very fixed when I was in my 20s, I was very much like I said, you're going to become a teacher, you're going to get married, you're going to have kids, that's
Yep.
what you're supposed to do. You're going to,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be that mom that has her wine every single night with the neighbors while the kids are playing. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but that was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just was not serving me
Yeah.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel that, okay, there's something better. You have
Yeah.
that itch to do something more, then you go
Yeah.
for it. You do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably one of my favorite things that I've learned so far in life is what that little tug means
Mm-hmm.
and to always follow it no
Yeah.
matter what, even if it has to be on the side of your job. Cause sometimes people like I get like riled up sometimes about things like that. And they're like, well, I can't just quit my job and go chase my passion or whatever. And it's like, well, no, I'm not telling you to do that. You probably shouldn't. You have to pay your bills, but start somewhere, start on the side or pick it
Yes.
up because you enjoy it and you never know what it's going to turn into. Like you and the Legionnaire program, it was just because you wanted to help people and now you get to do that and it's your business.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool to be able to like sometimes we look at things in life that have happened to us
Mm-hmm.
as like these bad things. If you're in a rough season right now, you're listening to this, you're in a tough season. It's it's hard to look at it this way, but it's teaching you something so that in the future you can help others through it, right? Like
Yeah.
that's, I had a horrible relationship with food, with my body, with alcohol, smoking, like all of these things. And now because I've gotten through that,
Yeah.
I can help other people do the same.
Yeah.
So that's another way to look at it. Any kind of tough season that you are going through, or a confusing season where you're just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, what is this teaching you? It's going to teach you
Yeah.
something that's going to be able to help others.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that, like, that once you get through the tough season, like, and you see the fruit of all of your hard work, it doesn't just stay sunshine and rainbows
Yes.
from there. You know, even like with this podcast, there have been times where like I feel like I'm finally on the cusp of like it getting really, really good. And then life's like this. And you have to be able to continue moving forward despite life being like, hey, let me sprinkle this in here. What if I threw this in your way? And I think
Mm-hmm.
people a lot of times they'll be like, well, they did all this work, now they're really successful and they have no like humps to get over. The humps don't stop. You just
No.
have to keep climbing over them and know that you are capable.
Yeah. There's never going to be like, things may be calm once in a while, but there's never going to be this like perfect time to
Mm-hmm.
actually do something that you're
Yeah.
wanting to do. Or if you're trying to get started on improving your health, like there's never going to be a perfect time. There's always, and I love that you said that you
Mm-hmm.
recognize that at 24, that like life is going to come your way no
Mm-hmm.
matter what. And
Yeah.
you just, and I think that's what I keep coming back to fitness, but like that doing hard shit in the gym
Yeah.
has helped me be able to overcome so many obstacles and adversity,
Mm-hmm.
just because of what I know I'm capable of in my workouts, which sounds
Yeah.
silly, but it's so true.
Yeah. I think too, like in those hard seasons, or maybe when life is throwing a curveball your way and you're actively trying to get over it, choosing to jump into something there or continue doing the hard things through that makes you 10 times stronger on the outside. And it
Oh yeah.
it just reminds you like how capable you are. Like 2 weeks ago now, I think. I'm in South Carolina and we got hit by Helene
Mm,
and we didn't have power for 7 days, which is not even remotely as horrible as what's happening in North Carolina. But I'm on
right.
phase 2 of the Live Hard program right now, and we
Oh,
didn't
good
have
for you.
power for 7 days. And I was like, I don't really know. And I'm on a whole food diet and I can't cook. I was like, I don't know what to do.
Oh my gosh, what did you do?
I did it. I ate a lot of
Wow.
Lara bars. And just like went and got food from where I could that was pre-cooked, but
Wow.
that just reminded me so much of like, okay, on the days where it's just a regular Tuesday and you don't want to do it, you can do it. You did it
Mm-hmm.
without hot water for 7 days. You did it without a stove to cook on for 7 days. And I just think that relates so much to like maybe you have a business and it's just getting to the cusp, and then life's like, oh, here's a financial hit, or here's something with your family. Don't stop there. Don't
Mm-hmm.
let that become, maybe like take a day and then you got to keep moving forward.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Um, so let me see what time it is. Okay. Let's get to your advice piece.
Yeah, I touched on this. There were so many times I was like, I could just jump into this right
Yeah.
now, because this is, it's something that I would go back and tell myself in my 20s, but also like it doesn't matter what age you're at. Like I think these are things that you need to remember
Hmm.
as you are working to become, a better version of yourself, or if you're just kind of feeling stuck or whatever. But if I could go back to my crazy, irresponsible self in my 20s, number one, just don't settle. Like we talked about this, just don't settle for something that does not fulfill you
Mm-hmm.
because, had I settled, for being a stay-at-home mom that drinks every night, not fulfilled, it would have led me to poor health, poor relationships, probably with my husband would not be as good as I am, we are today. I wouldn't be able to teach my boys what hard work looks like,
Yeah.
like there's just, I always am thinking of like, okay, I know this is uncomfortable now, but what is the alternative? Which is also like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a part 2 of my advice is to choose your hard. This is really hard to do when you're younger and like it is. It's hard to do at any age because we as humans, we just love being we are fixed to be comfortable. We want to stay
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. And yeah, you can stay comfortable in the moment, but think about it's developing this practice of thinking about your future. If you continue to stay comfortable right now and doing something that yeah, it's comfortable. It may not really fulfill you. You're not truly happy. You're not feeling your best, but it's just comfortable where you're at. And the thought of doing something different scares you or it causes you
Mm-hmm.
that discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to think about, your heart. Like your heart is the future. Okay, financially I have no savings because I'm not choosing to be smart with my money.
Yeah.
I'm my health is awful. And I coach so many women that are coming into their 40s or their late 30s and they have a lot of health issues because they chose, they didn't choose their hard in the moment. They chose
Yeah.
their comfort.
Yeah.
And you know that's kind of that's my biggest piece is like you can either choose that temporary discomfort, which is going to short-term pain, long-term gain. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
help you in the future. And I think that is something you really have to take a second, take some time and think about because, I always think, okay, well, what's the alternative? Like there are times where it would be so much easier. I like life just gets really heavy, right?
Yeah.
Running a business, trying to take care of myself, but also
Yeah.
taking care of kids. And like life just gets really heavy and crazy. And I'll ask myself, like, is this worth it? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just sometimes you just want to quit it all. But then you think of, okay, I can choose my hard now or I can choose my hard later. There is something else that like they just don't teach you in school. And think again, I'm blessed with a husband who somehow is just very good with his finances. I mean, he's an accountant, he's good with savings, but they don't teach you this in school. And so this is another piece of the choose your hard.
Yeah.
Um, is just start getting smarter with your money. They don't teach that in school. We worked on paying off debt. Like there's Dave Ramsey is a really good resource. He has a podcast. And I think that was a big, just following his kind of strategies for saving money, paying off debt. Like these are just
Yeah.
things that I wish I would have known then that would have set us up, a lot better heading into our 40s. But luckily we got our shit together and started implementing those things. This
Yeah.
just like it's financial, it's relationships, it's your health, it's all of these things, being a better parent, like choose your hard now or
Mm-hmm.
and choose it later.
Yep.
And it's worth it right now to choose that short-term hard and discomfort because I promise you going into my 40s, like I said, best health of my life. I'm in the best shape. My marriage is doing really well. My kids, everything is just, I'm not saying life is always sunshine and rainbows, like we talked about with
Right.
the gym and things that you're doing in the gym really help you take on stuff that comes your way. But
Yeah.
I really, I pride myself in finding the good in every situation and just living life with a very grateful heart
Yeah.
for everything I have. And that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my biggest pieces of advice.
Awesome.
Use your hard and just, you don't have to settle. I don't know, if you think that just because you're in your 20s, you have to settle for a certain career or a certain lifestyle or certain relationships. Just don't settle. If you,
Mhm.
like you said, you put it as a tug. If you have this tug that's telling you, or your instinct, your gut that's telling you that like, this isn't, this isn't right. This isn't making
Yeah.
me happy. Do something about it. Don't just settle, because
Yeah.
again, that's going to be a part of choosing your heart later.
Yeah. 100%. Great way to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Love that.
This is another good book. I'm like big on the Dave Ramsey as a resource, but
Okay.
also the Automatic Millionaire. I don't know if
Okay.
you've ever read that. That's
I
another really
haven't.
good resource that I think people in their 20s should read. It just
Okay.
teaches you about putting away money
Yeah.
now and building that up over time. So it just gives you some
Awesome.
really good practical tips.
Yeah. I'll have to pick that up. I'll put it in the show notes for everybody too. I love
Okay.
money books.
Yes, it's important. And it's
Yeah.
not exciting. It's not the
No.
exciting things. Because in your 20s, like, I don't know, it's just I wanted the things that felt exciting and the
Mm,
quick, you want that quick
yeah.
satisfaction, or you want something that's going to happen right now. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the not sexy, the not exciting things that are going to really pay off and set you up for your
Mm-hmm.
30s, your 40s, and your future.
100%. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. All right. Well, where can everybody follow you at?
Instagram,
Okay.
it's at Liz underscore Hochstetler. She's gonna have to put that in the
I'll
show
put
notes.
that in the show notes.
But yeah, that's my Instagram handle.
Okay.
You can find me there. And then
Awesome.
I know Jenna mentioned one of my best friends was on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We have a podcast together.
Yep.
It's called When Mamas Rise Up, but it is not just for moms. We always have to say that. This is
Yeah.
just, we are two moms that have a very similar story, that have risen up into our best version of ourselves, or we're working to become the best version of ourselves. And so that's
Yeah.
another one. Good listen.
Awesome. I will add that as well. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me on here. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much.